Technology is the most powerful change in the world of education.
Everything changes.
Welcome to the Emerging Technologies in Education podcast, delivered to you by Clever Books Company.
Dear listeners, thank you for joining Emerging Technologies and Education podcast series. And I'm happy to have Dan today. How are you, Dan?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
That's brilliant to have you here, and my honor to host the podcast with you. And before we start, I would like to give you the word to introduce yourself, tell about your background and which country you're coming from, and anything you would like to share with listeners.
Great. Well, thank you. Well, hello. My name is Danbys. I'm from San Francisco, California in the United States, and I'm currently the Director of Training Research at Simplilearn, and we're a global e-learning provider of more than 400 online courses in digital technologies and business disciplines. So here at Simplilearn, I actually conduct and curate and compile research on the latest content and training best practices regarding e-learning and edtech. I have 15 years of experience in teaching and developing instructor-led training and video-based e-learning curricula for continuing education. Plus, I also volunteer as a writing tutor for at-risk students in San Francisco K-12 schools through the 826 Valencia Foundation. And my bachelor's degree is in speech communication, and I hold numerous certifications in digital marketing. And also, I'm a pilot, so I hold aviation technology certificates. And I have also been blessed with insights from both sides of the training process, both as someone earning certificates and also developing curricula for them.
Amazing background and
Thanks.
So diverse. I love talking to people who have a background and experience in the fields that are absolutely not related, because I think that that makes them different from anybody else. So pleasure to host the podcast with you. And the first question would be, how do you feel about using technology in education? I have the feeling it's positive, but can you elaborate on that? Why you feel so positive about that?
Right. Well, yes, full disclosure, we're an e-learning company. So, of course, I feel positive about technology and education because thanks to the tools and all the delivery modalities that EdTech has, not only does technology speed learning, but improves accessibility to knowledge. It makes it easier to engage with learners. And when you engage more, that technology improves engagement, and that engagement improves retention. But of course, using the technology in the classroom doesn't just make learning better. It actually teaches people something else essential, particularly students, because it's not just about how to use it. It's not just about what you're learning, but it's teaching how to use technology. And this includes educating students on how to evaluate online research sources and things they're using in their daily life. Even for digital natives, I mean, these technology and research skills are going to prepare them for being an adult. I've got a lot of friends who are actually currently teachers in public and charter schools, and they actually say that in a lot of universities, in order to get a certificate or a degree in education nowadays, you actually have to, particularly a master's degree, candidates are required to take courses on technology integration. So teachers will know how to vet, incorporate, and use the current and future technologies into their classrooms. So it's not just a nice to have. Now they're seeing it as a requirement. So yeah, I am definitely all for technology in the classroom.
Thank you a lot for your comments. That sounds interesting. And as you're having this e-learning company, can you tell me which courses are you delivering? You have some specific segmentation, or you deliver just for teachers, just for students, or for everybody? And what kind of topics you cover?
Well, we teach on a variety of digital economy skills, and that includes digital marketing, and also we have courses on. We have a new course line on artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also do things such as project management and cybersecurity, and a lot of the technical skills, including Agile and Scrum and other programming and mobile app development. And so a wide range of technology, primarily used in the business side of it. So it's primarily on the continuing education side. We do have we also work with Duke Continuing Studies, and we're a partner with them. And so people can go to Duke and through their continuing studies program take online courses in a lot of these topics, particularly digital marketing. But these are available to anyone online. If you go to simplilearn.com, you can see the whole range of, like I said, over 400 courses, and we've got more than 1 million learners so far since in the past 9 years or so.
This sounds impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. And how do you select the topics that they're appealing to the audience, and how do you normally think what's going to be really well perceived by the students?
Oh, as far as the courses that Simplilearn provides, well, we have a whole product development team that is always has their ear to the rail in figuring out what are the skills that employers are hiring for and what they need. And a lot of our customers are people who are job seekers, or they're already in a career and looking for ways to improve their skills. Because as you know, technology is changing so fast that a university degree can't even keep up with those changes. So ongoing learning is especially important, and we provide e-learning tools to make that easily, both through online videos and live virtual classrooms.
I'm very interested in the online virtual classrooms. So this is something that you are delivering live, or it's you deliver already pre-recorded courses, or how does it?
We actually use a blended learning modality. And blended learning is a combination of where we have a lot of pre-recorded videos, which are developed by industry experts in the field. So these aren't just people standing around writing courses. What will look good for an audience and making a video like that. The people that are creating these videos are actually working professionals in the fields that they're teaching on, and so they have background in that. And then we have course advisors on top that also make sure that the skills that they're teaching are aligned with the skills that are needed in the industry. And so we have a combination of the online videos, which can be learned at the pace of the person who's taking the course. And then we also have live virtual classrooms where you have instructors that are live and you can interact with them. So you can go and you can learn on your own with the self-paced videos. And then if you choose, you can also take part in scheduled online virtual classrooms where anyone around the world can pop in and is course and take part in this class. And you get an element of social learning because you have the blogs that are and the forums that are a part of that. And the instructor teaches live and answers questions. And then you have live virtual assistants 24 hours a day that can also answer questions of the student. And they also work on applied projects. And so that combination of online videos and then live instructor-led over the internet classrooms, and then applied learning projects, and then filled in with the social learning aspects of the forums, really provides a nice complete background for the education process, all online.
Isn't it amazing that even without traveling, a person, no matter where this person is based, can still join the course? I think it's just, thanks to technology, it became really amazing opportunity to be a part of a classroom in the US, even if you're based on the other part of the globe. So I think it's just great opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for global organizations that, how else are you going to get people together to train at the same time or at the best time for them on a particular topic to really align teams no matter where they reside?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you. And if we dig a little bit deeper in terms of sharing your personal opinion, maybe some trends, maybe some specific tools in the technologies for education, could be anything like we're talking about the e-learning platforms and virtual classrooms, maybe anything connected to the emerging technologies that you had experience with,
Mhm.
or anything that you would like to share and give the ideas of the trends, or any specific tools?
God, well, where to start? I mean, there's so many great technology classrooms, and um, probably the most immediately useful and easy to access in terms of classrooms, I think now from the instructors, the teachers that I've talked to, I'm talking school age um, instruction, are software as a service tools like Google Classroom. I know a lot of people that use that. These Google tools let the teachers share information and assignments and calendars with the students, and they can track progress and record when the homework is turned in. And this is great because these records can be monitored and shared with parents. Now, in the corporate space, we call this a learning management system, or LMS. And Simplilearn has a similar learning management system on our end as well that lets the, in this case, managers, but it could be teachers, monitoring the progress of all the people taking the training. And then if they see that they can see if the assignments are being turned in, if the projects are being completed, they can see the progress in terms of the online learning, what course taken, how far it progressed, and they can see their test scores, and it gives them the opportunity to not only monitor to help catch them up, but also to support them and give them much more encouragement to complete the course. So e-learning in the form of our online videos is what we do. That's another value technology, and that makes sense for classrooms too, because teachers have been supplementing classroom instruction using film strips and films and videos and other multimedia-based education aids for half a century, and to great effect. I mean, e-learning is really an effective way for knowledge transfer, particularly because it adds engagement and it adds variety to the material and enables a close-up, repeatable video demonstration and real-world visuals. It gives a very rich learning experience, which is helpful for education at any age. But what's new about e-learning is that rather than just incorporating it as an online accompaniment to in-person instruction, in some classes, it's actually become an integral part of the educational setting, and they call it, well, I mentioned blended learning, and in education in K through 12, they usually call that a flipped classroom, because it doesn't just mean a flipped classroom is where traditional things that you would consider homework would be done by the student on their time. In other words, the learning, a lot of it happens on the student's own time with the self-paced videos, and then they reconvene during the classroom, and then that's where they get the ongoing mentorship. And it's important to have that ongoing mentorship, and we delivered in a method of a live virtual classroom, because simply having a bunch of recorded videos out there to learn something isn't really that effective for knowledge transfer. Think about it, there have been libraries for tens of thousands of years, or at least thousands of years, and not everyone's walking around with PhDs. You really need to have a mentor, and you need to have a structured curriculum to follow, and that material in the library, in this case the online videos, provides the basic knowledge, but the mentors provide the guidance. And when you can provide that in electronic format through a live virtual classroom, and then monitored through a learning management system, and then it's really helpful. But there's other types of technologies too that I just want to get back on the e-learning. The cost savings, it just occurred to me, are really great too, because compared to developing original content and bringing the best guest instructors into the classroom, e-learning lets you do this just-in-time delivery too. It's repeatable. It's always consistent. And that's important, because when you're training lots of students year after year or class after class, having that consistency is really helpful, because if the instructor is having not necessarily the best day, or if there's a substitute instructor, the material can still be consistent. And plus, it's infinitely scalable to any number of students, or any number of employees, or any number of people that you want to take this on in any part of the world. It also makes a difference because multi-delivery modes improve learning. There's been so many studies that say that the more modalities you use, such as live instruction and text and video, even at the same time, it reinforces engagement, it reinforces that learning, and it improves retention. Almost everyone has, in the studies that I've seen, say that utilizing many different learning methods is possible, like video live instruction, practical, that enables you to fill in any knowledge gaps left by the modes that weren't the best for that particular topic or that particular learner, because everyone kind of learns in different ways, and so you pick things up through different modalities. So the more ways you can, and doing that electronically and using with live virtual classrooms and applied projects, that just gives you more opportunities to get that knowledge across. Of course, the other cool thing about that is it enables adaptive learning. Adaptive learning is where you can actually determine at what pace and what level each student is learning at, and you can adjust the lessons according to that. And imagine pre-testing with using quizzes. I mean, you can do that in courses anyway, but e-learning really gives it that flexibility to automatically put people at the pace and the place that they're learning best. Getting into other technologies, I think smart boards look like a great way to incorporate multimedia and teacher-student interaction during the instruction, because it enables you to do things like share the screen with your students on their tablets. But from the teachers that I've talked to, I think that the biggest barrier to this technology, in reality, at least in American schools, is accessibility due to purchasing budgets. Not all schools can afford these large technology things like smart boards, as great as they are. But on the other hand, I kind of want to talk about other interesting things I've seen on the horizon too, with virtual reality and augmented reality. And these have great potential for education, particularly for teaching things that are messy or wasteful or dangerous. Virtual reality, VR, through affordable headsets like Google Cardboard and Oculus Rift, they make immersive learning possible. And this type of technology is ideal for studying things like anatomy, where imagine navigating virtually through like layers of the body, and you can even see the organs functioning just like they do in a living creature, rather than having to resort to photos or more models or even dissection. A few months ago, Apple announced a whole bunch of AR kit apps, including Frogopedia, I think it's called. Frogopedia is an AR dissection app for the iPad or the iPhone, and it lets students use an Apple Pencil stylus to peel away the skin from a virtual frog in order to do a virtual dissection. And the only difficulty I see AR apps is, at least in the near future, is that they might be dependent on specific devices like iPads. I think it'll be much better when virtual reality and AR can be delivered on a much wider range of platforms and phones, so that more students can have accessibility regardless of the manufacturer of their phone. Artificial intelligence is certainly going to make its way into classrooms. Since 2012, companies like Hewlett-Packard have been making these algorithms for automatic essay scoring to help teachers out. And because a lot of classes, particularly in the college level classes, you can have more than 100 students in a class, and they're taking a test or they're writing essays. And that's a lot for instructors to go through. So this one program has achieved a 94.5% average correlation between AI and human graders in both scoring student essays and also and they score them in determining, they actually read through all the essays and they find out whether or not the student has actually answered the question using natural language processing to try to figure out if they've used the appropriate words, and they can summarize the essay into one or two sentences that enable the instructor to see if this has been, and even the AM program itself to determine whether the person answering questions hit the mark. And plus, it's even so sophisticated that it can provide automatic written feedback on those essays. Uh, Chatbots are another area where AI is making a lot of headway in education, from what I've seen. It's been, I think this has been tried extensively for years in terms of help desk functions, and those things can be also useful for student help desk functions as well. I know in some universities they're using chatbots on the website for orientation, and chatbots work really well on a particular narrow topic. Currently, they work really well on narrower topics where you know specifically the types of questions are going to be asked, so that there's a limited amount of information for the chatbot to learn from and direct to. But it's getting even better. Simplilearn's course advisor for AI and machine learning courses is Dr. Mike Tamir, who's also the head of data science at Uber's self-driving vehicles division. And he says that there have been these breakthroughs in natural language processing and other deep learning algorithms, especially over the past 5 years, that have made such huge advancements in everything from chatbots to real-time Google translation, making if you notice how great Google Translator's been getting, it's because of all this natural language processing that's been improving over the last couple of years or so. And Dr. Smir is our course advisor for AI courses, and he's even helping develop an AI app just on his own for fake news detection. And the app is available in beta at, it's called fakerfact.org. That's it, FAKERFACT.org, not fake or bat, but not fake or fact, but fakerfact, fakerfact.org. And he and his colleagues have built an algorithm that lets you enter the URL of an article that you see online, and then it reads through the text and it gives an assessment as to whether that text is real journalism or if it's more focused on being sensational or clickbait or trying to get an emotional reaction from a hot button issue. And that can be actually valuable as a tool for students when they're trying to do their research online to make sure that you're able to weed out information from sources that are just trying to be sensational and not reliable. Because that's the one draw of the internet, is that any information is available on the internet, and it isn't always the most vetted that you can find. Now, I know some people may scoff at the idea of chatbots in education, but people nowadays, especially digital natives, are really comfortable in dealing with chatbots. It's not only people that are digital natives, but people just used to using them now. I mean, they thanks to like e-commerce sites, and most places you go online to buy, you find chatbots, and people are getting used to using them. And with that familiarity, you get less fear and less contempt for these types of online types of bots. And apparently, a lot of people actually prefer using chatbots over live operators who might sound awkward or rigidly scripted. In other specific circumstances, chatbots are now actually passing the Turing test, which is a Turing test is back in 1959. There was this, they started doing this test to see whether humans could discern the difference between a live person and a robot in terms of answering questions. And very recently, things have been made a lot of great headway in that. One of the things that's been really popular online is the demonstration, for example, of Google AI, which is robo-vocalization. And maybe you've seen the video where their automated assistant actually makes a telephone appointment with a hairdresser and even a restaurant reservation with live humans on the other end. And the robo voice even includes human sounding paralanguage, like the ums and the pauses and the questions. And it's quite convincing to see that going on. And this is just the beginning of a lot of improving technology that's going to make this much more natural for people to use. I can also imagine that such chatbots would be great for providing like 24/7 interactive help with homework for students. For example, say a student's up at midnight struggling to solve something like a pure quadratic equation where there's no c, so the quadratic formula can't be used. And so the chatbot could then guide the frustrated student through the alternative processes, like say something like, okay, try taking x as common, or let's find the value of x, or if that didn't work, then using factoring and showing how to find the greatest common factor, until eventually the student would connect with the way that made the best sense for him or her without having to wake up a parent or call a friend or email the teacher or waste an hour trying to find the solution on YouTube or social media. I think that's a great opportunity for chatbots to help education. I think the best way to integrate all these technologies is also through bring your own device, a BYOD policy, where students can bring their own tablets or their own smartphones, and because all these classroom technologies need to be mobile friendly and usable on any smartphone or mobile device, whether it's e-learning through self-paced courses and videos, or AR and VR, chatbots, of course, or being able to connect with smart boards. It's important for students not to have to be dependent on a classroom device, let alone a desktop-based system. On e-learning industry, I read a study that said that 92% of students say that it's easier to use their own mobile device to access information so that they will not be stranded, and that they'll be able to find anything they want to find right at the time that they need it. And they can read their lessons in bed. They can read on their smartphones. After researching a topic, they can create and upload like selfie videos to give original oral reports rather than sitting down to type and cut and paste a bunch of paragraphs from an article that they've read. They may not even understand it. But if you make like a little short 5-minute video of yourself just giving an oral report on what you've just researched, then that's not only much more engaging, but it's much more authentic to the learning experience. Plus, they can communicate in online forums and participate with people anywhere around the world. That's great for students and employees alike. I think mobile is also ideal for accessing micro-learning content. Moment of need. This is becoming I went to the Association for Talent Development conference last year, and there was an eye to the future of e-learning technology, and the big buzzword is moment of need, or just-in-time e-learning, which is going to become even more important in the years ahead. And that's especially for continuing education, because instead of taking extensive courses, once you have a solid background in the education, it's soon going to be less important how much you know, but more important to know how and where you can learn just what you need, just when you need it. And it's kind of like the movie The Matrix, where Trinity, can you fly a helicopter? I don't, but Tink, upload a program for UH1. Now I do. Or, whoa, I know jujitsu. Part of my movie quoting there. But the whole idea be able to get immediate learning and education just when you need it to solve a particular problem is going to be something we're going to see more and more of. And e-learning is really the best way to deliver that. And smartphones are the ideal path for that.
Wow, that's a lot of examples of...
No, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's a lot of examples on how to do the e-learning, how to use all these instruments, how to create the personalized learning. And I think it's quite an interesting idea about the chatbots and how they could be personalized, be part of personalized learning as well. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I found like a lot of interesting insights there. So we're going to definitely share all the links and suggestions for our listeners. In the blog post connected to this podcast. And I have one more question to you.
Sure.
So we both are positive about using technology, but sometimes we meet people who will push back and say, like, for different reasons, that they don't want to use technology for educational purposes and they think it's not necessary. Would you try to encourage them somehow to start using technology, and how?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can sort of see why some people might do that. I mean, some teachers might be against technology in the classroom for a lot of reasons. I mean, they might simply have difficulty in learning the technology themselves, or they might be attached to tradition, or they. But those are things that are easy to get around. You just have to get familiar with that technology. And one of the nice things about technology is that it's getting easier and easier to use. You no longer have to you don't have to create a video. You don't have to program anything. In many cases, you don't even have to. It's such an intuitive interface for a lot of these technologies that it's really reducing the barrier for instructors as well as users of this technology. The other thing is that some people might be afraid of malfunctions. What if something goes wrong? But then again, as a teacher, part of your lesson planning has to involve having a backup in case something goes wrong anyway. So this is no different from that. And then there's those that say that technology is distracting. Well, teaching has always had distractions. Before cell phones, there was passing notes or doodling on your peachy folders, or even just looking out the window at the trees. At least with technology, you have ways to track and monitor students' activities online. You can see the history of what they're searching for, even if they're using their own device. As long as they're logged into the school's Wi-Fi network, if you're a teacher, you can always ask the tech department to look up the student's login and history, and then you can address any issues from attention span there. Of course, there are exceptions to this trend in technology classrooms. In the United States, we have about 160 Waldorf education schools, these are schools that they're private schools that utilize only traditional and artistic tools for learning. They're screens at all. Computers aren't allowed in classrooms. In fact, the schools even discourage students from using computers at home. And ironically, these schools are pretty popular here in Silicon Valley, California, and even some high-level tech giants like eBay and Apple and Facebook send their children to Waldorf schools. And their teaching philosophy focuses on physical activity, creative expression, and hands-on tasks. And the people that are this type of learning say that computers inhibit creative thinking, they inhibit movement, human interaction, and attention spans. And that's a very valid that's a very valid viewpoint. And I think it's a noble idea. But I think in a way that even digital natives, way back to baby boomers, back to Neolithic man, were educated without computers. However, the reality is that technology is a part of life, and like some communities have seen from other types of education, if kids don't learn it in school, or their parents won't explain it, then they're going to learn it from other kids, and that's not always the best way. That's not always the best advice, and resistance technology in classrooms isn't anything new. And teachers resisted pencils and erasers. Plato thought that writing itself was untrustworthy because they thought that it would cause memories to deteriorate. But of course, now we know that the opposite is true. Writing reinforces memory. And so as time goes on, these technologies will get easier to use, and people will realize how to integrate them into their life. And I think for people that eschew technology, I think what's important is maybe the solution is to use technology, but also go outside the computer, go outside the box, and use real life, meaningful physical activities and involvement and other methods other than electronically to engage with the students. And technology itself isn't the answer. For example, if I were teaching astronomy, I would take a class out to a giant empty parking lot and have us pace out a scale model of the solar system, for example, like a basketball representing the sun, and then a sesame seed is the Earth 25 meters away, and then one student could pretend to be a sunbeam traveling at the speed of light and take 8 minutes to walk from the sun 25 meters to the Earth, and then Mars, a little red pinhead at 43 meters away, and then Jupiter, a ping pong ball at 80 meters out. And just to give people a grand idea of the scale of this and involving people physically in their learning, in addition to the electronic ways of learning, I think that is a much broader, holistic, blended learning approach where technology will not only shine, but also reinforce how people learn in the physical way.
Thank you so much, Dan, for these great ideas and information shared and all this bunch of thoughtful things to go through for everyone who is listening to the podcast. I would like to thank you a lot for your time and for being today with us.
Great. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Everything changes.